What's up, and welcome to the Weekenders. This is the show where we talk about the biggest football games of the weekend, brought to you by Multiplicity Media. Of course, I'm Max, joined by Lexi and Bobby. And what a good football weekend we're coming from and we're about to go into. We had a lot of crazy close games, from the game to the Iron Bowl to whatever was happening between Washington and Washington State. What, of course, Lexi, we know what you're going to say, but before we talk about like the latest news and the games and everything, what game stood out to you the most this weekend?
I mean, obviously, to be attending the game in person was unreal. But I will say, I loved Auburn giving Alabama a run for their money. I didn't see that coming. And it was a wild game that you kind of didn't expect. So I really liked that. I wish Auburn would have pulled it out, but then it gives a little bit of more meaning to the championship game this weekend with Georgia. So more good
Yeah.
football. I'm here for it.
Yeah, that game made me angry, low key. I'm like, how do you let him throw that touchdown pass?
So
And
bad.
You're right. It does make the SEC championship more meaningful, but I was furious. I'm like, how do you lose that game? That was tough.
I mean, just truly brutal. They had him right there. Pretty fitting that it happened on the 10-year anniversary of the kick six that Alabama would steal a game like that at Auburn. But I don't know. Auburn at Jordan Hare, they're feisty if they're not playing UMass, I guess.
And then also like it was like things like it's like from close game to close game. You had like the close ending with Florida State and Florida, the Iron Bowl game, and then BYU and Oklahoma State overtime. Like rivalry weekend delivered.
It did. Hate week was a great week.
Look, that BYU OSU wasn't on the document, and I thought I was safe from it because for like a half, I thought OU was going to the Big 12 championship. All BYU had to do was just score, just finish them out. OSU, total disaster, and they just found their way in. The Mormons don't know how to play offense, I guess, when it really counts. So brutal result there for my Sooners.
Yeah, that was a tough ending to that. So yeah, some good stuff from rivalry week, and now obviously the fallout of some seasons ending for some teams. We got Mike Elko to Texas A&M. I think that was expected, but there was that weird Mark Stoops pump fake from, and he got hired there, and everyone was really upset. They were like, "Just kidding." Mark Stoops was like, "Just kidding. I'm staying at Kentucky. I'm not taking this job at Texas A&M." When people already hate me from the jump. But it seems like Mike Elko is a good fit. Really sucks for. I'm kind of like feel bad for Duke fans. I mean, you were just recovering from, being like, the bottom of the barrel, and you were finally kind of gaining some relevance, and you have a good quarterback situation going and a good head coach, and now you have to start over again next year. So it sucks for them, but hopefully A&M's better off with Elko. And Jonathan Smith to Michigan State was announced in the middle of the game as well.
And then got swept under the rug because other things.
Hey.
Oh, geez. I love that hire, by the way. I think that's a really good culture-building hire for Michigan State there. I think Jonathan Smith, that's a good deal right there.
Yeah, I think it helps, too, with just the expansion and not being, stuck to playing all the gauntlet teams, in the East anymore. I'm a little weary of, the fact that he's never really recruited in the Midwest and not, bringing a lot of his guys over. But we'll see. We'll see. It's probably, one of the best they could have given their options. I will definitely say that.
Yeah, I think if you weren't in the I think they were thinking about Mike Elko too. So I mean, if you weren't going to get him, Jonathan Smith has done a great job. I know some other names are floating around too.
It's kind of funny because when I heard it, I was like, okay, well, their John L. Smith days were like really dark and dreary. So I'm like, is this going to be the next John Smith? But no,
Yeah,
he's better than John L. Smith. I'll give him that.
yeah. Well, staying right there in Michigan, like, uh, it's obviously like the win was big for a lot of reasons. Obviously, for the season to keep continuing, and now we don't have to hear about the sign stealing anymore and how it possibly affected the other games because Michigan for the third year in a row was just better than Ohio State, which I think was obvious, but now it's even more clear with the third win in a row. Um, and we talked about it in the last show. Like, Ohio State's really talented, but Kyle McCord, you don't really trust him, any more than you could. I mean, he you couldn't trust him like in a vacuum, but obviously, like if you're not going to win this game with C.J. Stroud and Columbus and Ann Arbor, like you asking Kyle McCord to go win this game in Ann Arbor was going to be a slim chance. And uh, I think at the end of the day, like Michigan won because of other things besides just the interception at the end of the game. But this game kind of played out how we all thought it would. If you were favoring Michigan in the game.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of crazy too because like Kyle McCord is a good quarterback, and he made some really great throws during that game, but like not having confidence, it kind of trickled down from like Ryan Day. Like, I mean, I remember when they were like 4th and inches or 4th and 1, like in the first half, and you're at like midfield, you don't go for it. Like, pulls them off the field. I don't think Ryan Day had a lot of confidence in his offense in this game. And I don't know why, because you got some weapons on there, but I just think that there was a lot of coaching mistakes on his part that really kind of led a lot in our favor. So
Yeah,
I enjoyed it.
yeah, yeah. Definitely, Ryan Day definitely was coaching scared. In the opposite side, Moore was really aggressive. Like I think that made all the difference in the world. Um, okay,
Absolutely.
yeah, absolutely. All right, cool. Let's get to the games. 5 big games in college to talk about. We'll get to the NFL and rapid picks. Um, Washington to Oregon. This is a Friday night game in Vegas. Hopefully, whichever team wins does not party too hard while they're there. But hey, maybe they deserve to if they do win. This is Washington versus Oregon. We get Washington, Oregon part two. Oregon favored by 9.5, even though they did lose the first game in at Washington. Um, this is over under of 66.5. Um, being that you know Washington won the first game close, are you surprised that Oregon is a 9.5 favorite? That's a big number.
I'm kind of not. If you look at how these two teams have gone since they played each other, two different directions. Washington has constantly not looked great in these ball games, going all the way back to the game immediately after, struggled against I believe Arizona State, and they still don't have it right. They struggled against Wazoo in the Apple Cup. Oregon, on the other hand, has been taking care of business. They've been way more decisive, way more deadly, and as you've said all season, they are a way more complete team from offense to defense. They had a very good chance to win that game when they last played, but little mistakes just kind of fell apart. So my thing is, if you ran this thing back, yeah, I feel very comfortable on a neutral field that Oregon can win this game and win it big if they play up to their potential.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that, you know, Lanning made a couple questionable calls, in that first game that I think may have like cost them, in the end. But like you said, they've just been on a tear. They're like the team I want to face least going into the playoffs. I mean, it's you really just got to face whoever you can. But yeah, Oregon's last on that list. They've been looking lights out.
Yeah, I mean, you guys just sort of said everything. Oregon was always a team that was really balanced on offense and defense. Um, was never really. They're almost like Michigan this year. They've dominated a lot of really good teams. We saw how they came out against Colorado, but like that, I mean, they've had some really great performances. against Utah in Salt Lake. Oregon State. Um, taking care of business versus USC. Like they haven't really messed around with anybody. And again, they played against Washington was the only game where they just made it a few too many mistakes. But I think going into this game, neutral site, a chance to sort of correct some of those things. Like maybe Vegas is saying like, we think Oregon's the better team, by about 10 points. And, Washington could, have another good day offensively. But if Oregon cuts down the mistakes, then this is a team that can win by, double digits. If Oregon does win the game, though, I think this really affects the playoff picture in an interesting way because, and I'm in the college football playoff picture, because now you're talking about instead of an easy, decision when Washington would be an undefeated Pac-12 champion, like that's an easy call. Yeah, they could go one loss, a one-loss Pac-12 champion. Now you're sort of it muddies the waters a little bit because you have to kind of rely on other things to sort of happen to have a chance. It would be a shame if Oregon or Washington had to stay home, but um, the interesting part of it is that for the entire year, Washington has been teetering on the 4 or 5 level from the committee. So they're kind of telling you like, somebody from the Pac-12 may get left out. If everyone else, so let's say like Georgia, Michigan, uh, Georgia, Michigan, Florida State win, like you're having a real conversation between Texas and Oregon if Oregon were to win. If Washington wins, then that's kind of an easier call. So there might be some very disappointed fans, uh, even if Oregon wins. Like that doesn't necessarily. I don't think that necessarily guarantees them a spot. I think it makes it harder for the committee to decide. To be honest.
Yeah, I think it won't. It's not clear cut, but I will say this: I think, especially given who Texas has to play in their conference championship game, not exactly an impressive opponent. The fact that Oregon can say we have beaten every team on our schedule, like the team we lost to, we got redemption on at a neutral site. If they win decisively, blow Washington out, then I don't see any way you leave out a one-loss Oregon. Because keep in mind, even though they've been teetering, Washington's been teetering on that 4-5 end. One of those teams just dipped last week, and that's Ohio State, who is sitting at home, no chance of winning a conference championship. So being able to claim a conference championship in what has been one of the toughest conferences in the country this season, I think that locks you in. I think it gives you the edge over a one-loss Texas, also a conference champ, just given that you got that redemption factor. And frankly, not to deprecate, but Oregon's loss on the road to Washington is significantly less bad than Texas's loss on a neutral site to Oklahoma. That's just kind of how it is. So I think you give the edge to Oregon there, regardless. Texas does have that really good Alabama win, but that's
I think if you're Oregon, you root for like Alabama to win, and you root for Texas to, obviously like Texas or Florida State losing would help you a lot, but I think you would root for Alabama to win because then if we're talking about Michigan, Alabama, Florida State, Oregon, and Texas, well, Texas is gonna have the win over Alabama head to head already. You'd have Michigan, Florida State go. Then it's kind of an easy call. Alabama's out, and it's Michigan, Oregon, Texas, and Florida State. So
I just feel
no. Keep in
to
mind
me that makes the most sense.
But if Alabama wins, that boosts Texas's resume a ton. You'd have So. And not only that, but then Georgia's still in the mix.
They're never going to leave an SEC,
even though they have
team out ever. Like that's.
I think in this case, I don't know how you argue for them because, again, like Texas has the head-to-head, so like I don't know. This is going to be crazy. I think a fan base is going to be really pissed. Like 1 or 2 fan bases are going to be really pissed because this thing is going to be impossible to choose if like Like I said, if
I think
Oregon,
it's kind of crazy that
I
like
don't know.
Michigan is like the highest lock right now too. Like, I did not see that coming. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, yeah. Um, all right, so we all got Oregon to win this game. We can all give our reasons. For me, I just feel like they've been the more complete team, and I think it's easier to face an opponent again when you know that all you have to do is play cleaner football to possibly win the game. I like the coach. I like Dan Lanning going into this again. Obviously, Bo Nix is phenomenal. They do good things on both sides of the ball. Um, I think if they just don't, if they can avoid making this a track meet, I think they can beat Washington pretty soundly. But you're going to have to really find a way to stop that high octane offense of the Huskies. I think that's the way Oregon gets it done.
Agreed.
Yeah, you got to force Penix into mistakes early. One of the things that Washington really excelled in against Oregon State was just complete mistakes on the Oregon State end. So if Nix can play perfect, don't get some of that Auburn Bo Nix type of vibes we've seen. We all know that look, the bad Bo Nix, we don't see him often, but we
Yeah.
know he's still in there. So if
Sheesh.
Oregon can just play clean, play controlled,
Yeah.
they'll win this
Yeah,
ball game.
spot
Okay.
on. Just take care of the ball.
Okay, going from Vegas down south to Arlington for the Big 12 championship, we got number 20 Oklahoma State at Texas, number 7. Texas favored by a whopping 14 and a half points. 55 and a half is the over-under. What team do you trust more, Texas or Oklahoma State?
I would not trust Oklahoma State with anything at all because this team has the past 4 weeks has been just a probably trying to think. Has it been? I think 3 weeks. Past 3 weeks since Bedlam has just been a comedy of errors. You go down to Orlando, get blown out. Apparently, didn't realize that it rains in Florida, so they brought zero rain gear, which is hilarious when you're playing in a monsoon. Then you almost fumble the bag at Houston, have to come back in that one. And then, last of all, you almost fumble it again after 2 warning shots. So for me, Oklahoma State, they have limped into this one. They make too many mistakes, and you can recover from those mistakes against BYU and Houston. You can't recover them against Texas, who's been on an absolute roll. The Longhorns didn't even practice in pads last week because they weren't afraid of Texas Tech, and they blew them out regardless. It just, to me, Texas, I absolutely trust them to handle this. I trust them significantly more than Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State is, like that one cousin you have to keep an eye on because they might start a fire somewhere throughout the Thanksgiving. You cannot trust Oklahoma State or Gundy.
Yeah, it's crazy because I think that if they're playing like Oklahoma, I'd probably say I don't trust Texas, because they've been kind of like, they've been good lately, but then they've like struggled against teams where you're like, okay, like what is happening, But you said like they're hot when it matters. Oklahoma State's just really kind of taken a dive and not been impressive these last few weeks. So I'm taking Texas in this one.
Yeah, Texas is weird because I feel like they still sort of have the reputation where you sort of like want to raise your eyebrows at them, and then you realize, oh, they only lost one game by like, on a last minute score in a rivalry game against Oklahoma. Like, they didn't take a bad loss. They've had a lot of situations where they could slip, and they haven't. They've actually been pretty consistent. They score a lot and they defend. Like, they're 22nd in the country in points and 12 points allowed. Like, they're actually a good football team. They just don't have like, as hyped up as Quinn Ewers was. Like, he's been, pretty much a game manager for them. And then, I know he was injured, but even when he was out, like, they played good football and won games when they needed to. So, I mean, this is, and then the BYU team that Oklahoma State just struggled against like Texas blew out. So yeah, it's kind of odd, but like I would say like I trust Texas here to get the job done, um, especially knowing what they have at stake. Um, and knowing that they want to definitely be in the CFP this year before they go into the SEC next year. Like I actually like Texas a lot here. I think Oklahoma State is just sort of. I think they're sort of like they they can definitely play spoiler here, but I just think like Texas is just so much better. I think Sark's gonna have this team prepared. I trust Texas a lot more, and that's why I have them winning the game too. I think like for all those reasons, like Texas is gonna take care of this. I think it's gonna be closer than the 14 and a half, but I like Texas to win.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Longhorns to win as well. A little bit wary, though. Be a little bit wary. Look, Texas has not won a Big 12 championship since 2009, Colt McCoy, his final year. Since that time, Oklahoma State 9-4 against the Longhorns, which a stat people completely forget about. OSU has owned Texas. So I'll always feist against the Longhorns, but to me, Texas doesn't exactly have a winning history in the Big 12 championship. Their fans have often told us it doesn't even matter that much, so good for them. They only have 4 Big 12 titles, I believe, since the league started in 1996. Oklahoma State only has 1. So, for Texas to go out, get a Big 12 title that they haven't had, something they have rarely achieved, it's something they really want to do, and I think they'll be motivated to get it. So Longhorns, I think, get the cover here. I don't think it'll be as easy as we think, though, because OSU are a little bit feisty.
For sure.
Lexi.
Yeah, I think, especially if we're talking about like what's needed to be done and everything, Texas is just the overall better team. But I think that Oklahoma State could, in a way, give them a run for their money just by like starting the game off quick, and getting those points on the board. But I just think that on both sides of the ball, Texas is just better than Oklahoma State. So we'll see. I mean, I know there's always the times that they beat them 9-4, whatever. But I think Texas is going to find a way to just end their Big 12 career by winning that championship.
Yeah. Just quick things as well. Ollie Gordon doesn't rush well against really good defenses. Texas has that. They're stacked defensively. I think they can slow down Ollie Gordon, get the advantage there. Oklahoma State also horrible passing defense. They allow way too many passing yards. Very porous there. Texas can exploit that as well with Quinn Ewers. So it just seems like a bad matchup.
All right, let's move on to Atlanta and the SEC championship. Georgia, Alabama, part whatever they do this every year. It seems like SEC championship. Kirby Smart and the Bulldogs are favored by 6 against Alabama, who barely got that win over Auburn in Auburn. But yeah, 54.5 is the over/under. We know about Big and Bad Nick Saban, but it's been Georgia's. Georgia's won the two national championships back to back, and it looks like they're getting hot at the right time, just in time for a 3rd championship run. So I ask you, especially Lexi, who has a team with a dog in the fight, which team is the scariest to face, Georgia or Alabama?
Georgia's like really like I've questioned them a lot this year. I know that there's even been a couple games where Alabama has looked, questionable as well. But seeing the way that Alabama fought through and beat Auburn, although Auburn isn't that good of a team, they're like on cloud 9 right now, and they're hyped up. They're ready to play, and it's Saban behind the wheel of all this. So, I'm just going to say at this point in time, I'm going to say Alabama. Because I think that they're just really hungry for it. Whereas Georgia's kind of been, on cruise control and getting here. I know they've had a couple huge wins of teams they should have won a lot, by a lot. But I'm just a little nervous for Alabama getting this kind of last minute hype rolling in with a chance to still make the playoffs. So never going to count out Nick Saban in that kind of deal.
Well, yeah, this is a tricky one because people might be kind of forgetting this. This is the first meeting they've had since that national championship in Indianapolis, and a lot's changed since then. That was the night that Georgia took the crown from Saban, and 2 years later, now they're on just this insane run, trying to go for a three-peat, something that rarely happens. In a bubble, Georgia's significantly scarier this season. When they turn it on in a way that Alabama just hasn't. They look lethal. They look, they have that cutting edge. They bludgeon you with their defense and Brock Bowers and Lad McConkey. It's just a different level. I think at Georgia they've taken that recruiting, they've taken the Bama blueprint, and they've kind of taken that attitude. Alabama definitely a little bit more plucky. And I'll say this, every time we get a Georgia-Alabama match, it never seems to turn out the way you think it is. It always seems to zag the other way. So I'm really intrigued to see what Nick Saban's been cooking up behind closed doors for all of this time, since January 2021. Or 22, I guess. But yeah, I would say Georgia in a bubble. But never gonna not be afraid of Nick Saban in Alabama.
Yeah, I think obviously Nick Saban's the go-to head coach, so yeah, that team's gonna scare you. I think I think why I would pick Georgia is because again they're starting to figure themselves out. They're starting to get hot. We talked so many times on the show about situations where this could be a trap game, and we talked about watch out for this or that, and Georgia's just continued to prove who they are as the number one team in the country, as the defending champions. And so when you are on that type of stride, it's hard for teams to beat you, even a team as well coached as Alabama. And like as quiet as it's kept, Carson Beck, their quarterback, has found his rhythm and has looked really good, and has shown like from a quarterback standpoint, he's way ahead of or way more talented, I should say, than a Stetson Bennett. So for that reason, Georgia not only has this, great defense, which this year everyone's saying maybe isn't as talented as past years, but still a pretty good defense, can still get stops. Now you actually have a quarterback who is better than the one on the opposite side. So it's not Stetson Bennett versus Bryce Young. It's Carson Beck, who most would say is better than Jalen Milroe, even though Jalen Milroe gives you that advantage with his mobility. So I think for those reasons, I would take Georgia as the more scary team because they're more well balanced. They know who they are. They're playing well, and their quarterback is doing great right now. But Bobby, I totally agree with you. I think there are going to be. I think there are going to be some expectations of this game that completely get flipped on their head because this is the SEC championship and nothing ever goes the way that you think, just like you said. So I couldn't agree with you more on that point. Is this a must win for Georgia? We talked a little bit about some of the scenarios that could happen. It seems like if Georgia loses, though, like you'd have to have a lot of stuff happen for them to get in. I know Georgia's been great all year, but to have one loss and you not be a conference championship, you not be a conference champion. Now we're talking about the Ohio State thing. Like, does Georgia even have a better argument to get in than Ohio State if Georgia loses? So, is this a must-win for them?
I would say so. Anytime you can just lock it up, secure your spot in that one seed, secure your spot in the Sugar Bowl where you won't have to commute all the way to Pasadena. That's very, very important to get that all set. I think they are probably still in with a loss. I think it's probably more up in the air. Like you said, Ohio State's definitely a conversation point there. those resumes, I would trend Georgia right now, just because some of those teams towards the end ended up being pretty highly ranked. That Missouri win was pretty solid, but anytime you're letting fate go into your letting fate decide, letting it be like, well, let's see if this Florida State team could beat Louisville, because you're not getting it over an undefeated Florida State. Let's just be honest. Just get it done. So yeah, I would probably say must win. There are ways, but you don't want to be sitting there all Saturday, just hoping that you squeeze on
Yeah,
in.
I think this is a must win. As much as I'd like to say they'll like always want to put two teams in, it's like if Washington wins out and Florida State wins out, there's no option at that point. You can't even they can't even bullshit their way into putting two SEC teams. So, like Bobby said, you want to lock it in. You have to lock it in, especially getting a win against Alabama. Like you're set and you're going into the playoffs like cruising. So I think it definitely is a very important win for them to get.
Yeah, I agree. I think it becomes too complicated if you lose this game. You're hoping for too many other things, and to be honest, like Georgia's resume, losing this game, like Georgia's resume really isn't that strong. It's sort of like almost like, not to put this on you, Lexi, but like if
Oh, for sure.
Michigan, if Michigan were to lose, like okay, actually Michigan with beating Penn State and Ohio State, their resume is actually really strong. But like I guess I was thinking like, okay, Michigan before Penn State and Ohio State didn't have a great resume, but now you do. So never mind.
It only took all season.
Yeah. Georgia, on the other hand, like where are the good wins if you lose this game? Like Missouri, Ole Miss, Tennessee. Like, I mean, I guess, but that's going to be difficult for you to find those good wins if Georgia were to lose this game. So, yes, this is definitely a must-win for them, in my opinion. But despite all that, we all have Georgia winning the game. I think for me, it's just the quarterback advantage. They're hot right now. They know what they have at stake. The formula to beat Nick Saban Alabama is there. And I think Alabama has shown a lot of weaknesses this year. I think it's going to be close, but I got Georgia to win.
Yep. Mm-hmm. I mean, you said it. It's there for the taking, and it just Alabama just looks different when they play Georgia sometimes. I don't know. We have one outlier where they fell apart, but I don't know. We'll see. It'll be a big test for Georgia to see if they can keep taking down the Tide.
All right, on to the Big Ten Championship. We got Iowa and Michigan and Indianapolis. Michigan, number 3 team in the country as of now, favored by 23 against Iowa 17. 35.5 is the over/under. And the question is, will Iowa cover the 23?
No. No, I mean that like in the most humble way possible. I don't think that. Yeah, it's going to be a good game for me, but not good for Iowa.
Is Iowa going to score? Like I'm not trying to play into it, but I gotta say, I am so look. A lot of people have been bashing expansion, have been bashing all of this, and I get it. But I gotta say, one really good thing about it, we got rid of this horrible Big Ten format. This is the most useless game in sports. Every year we send up some poor Northwestern or Iowa or Purdue, and they just get murdered by Ohio State and Michigan. Why? This is just all like a stupid waste of all of our times. And frankly, I'm glad it's gone or being exchanged with a game that actually matters, because this game never matters.
I think it's been like 10 years since the West won.
Yeah, it was Wisconsin, I think, or something. It might have been back in the Leaders and Legends.
You know what?
Days.
That was a good setup. I can't believe we ever got rid of that one.
It was just the name.
Leagues and
honestly,
Legends
that killed it. because the teams were good. It was a good setup to split up your teams, but the name was dumb, and that's why they got rid of it. But no, I guess it would have been. It was well, no, I guess Michigan State beat them in that 2015. So never mind. I have no idea when the last time that god awful Division won anything. So good riddance to them. Good luck with the future. It's just such a mess.
It's not going to be pretty.
So Ohio State. Let's talk about them for a second. Uh, tough weekend for them, of course, and of course, the arguments, if they are not already on the internet, we're going to see them. So, under any circumstance, should Ohio State have a chance to make the CFB? Like, is there any
No.
window for them to get it?
I mean, the window is like a 3% chance, but like Texas has to lose, Georgia has to lose, Florida State has to lose. And even at that point, no. I mean, I just don't think that they should. And it's going to be bullshit if they do. But I mean, I don't care. I think we can beat them again, anyways. But, it's just, I don't think that they should. I really don't. There's too many other teams that, even at a one loss, like I'd put in over them, for sure. So hope not.
I mean, you need the one losses to start falling. So no Texas, no Alabama. Just you need to be the only one loss standing there, and just I don't know, be the last one in. I guess that's really the only option. But I will say, just saying, Ohio State, Michigan at the Rose Bowl. Who says that?
My heart.
I keep saying random matchups at the Michigan, or I keep saying random stuff at the Rose Bowl. But seriously, how cool would that be? It'd be being pretty,
It would be
pretty
insane.
impeccable.
I feel like it's going to happen like when the expansion happens. They're definitely going to get that set up.
Could be.
All right. Last conference championship we're going to talk about today, the ACC, Florida State at Louisville. A lot of people are rooting for Louisville. In this one, Florida State is a 2.5 point favorite. Louisville, the biggest bag fumblers I've ever seen in my life. Had the bad loss to Pitt already, but then we have a little chance, there's a slim shot of making this college football playoff in the first year with your new head coach and the plumber kid. They lose to Kentucky at home, and their chances are dashed. So now they have to play spoiler to Florida State in Charlotte. Over under is 48.5. Again, Florida State favored by a measly 2.5 points. A lot of people are going to debate this. So we're going to keep it as a simple question for the Weekenders panel. Florida State wins. Should they be in no matter what?
Yeah. I mean, I don't see how you like the fact that some people are even arguing this. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, the ACC isn't one of like the better football conferences, but an undefeated conference champion, if they don't put them in, like it's gonna just be absolute. People should riot, and it would be valid at that point because, I don't care if they don't have Jordan Travis or not. They're an undefeated conference championship that or champion. That would just be point blank. Period. They're getting in.
I'll go ahead. Probably yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's strange that in college football we're talking about like, and don't get me wrong, Jordan Travis is incredible, but he's not Caleb Williams. Like the drop off between Jordan Travis and the backup would not be dramatic as the drop off between Caleb Williams or Drake May and whoever the backup for them is. Like Jordan Travis is phenomenal. He's experienced. He's got a lot of talent. But like the argument that a lot of people, especially the national media, are making that like just because Florida State is playing with a backup quarterback, they don't deserve to be a college football playoff team is like absolutely ludicrous. Like it's ludicrous. In the ACC, Florida State did not have to go through the toughest road in the ACC. But like, I really don't think the ACC is that much weaker this year than like the Big 12, um, or even like the Big 10 outside of Ohio State and Michigan, which is always the Big 10. So like, I don't get this like, I think that people are overstating how weak the ACC is, and I think the backup quarterback conversation is dumb. Like, football is a team sport. If you are undefeated conference championship of a Power Five conference and you win your conference, you are a college football playoff team, no matter what. And I don't think the drop off between Jordan Travis and this quarterback changes, especially when everyone's talked about the strength of this team being the talent at wide receiver. It's like, again, Jordan Travis is great, but like, he hasn't won at Florida State until this year, and he and Mike Norvell have been at Florida State for the past few years. That receiver room is the reason why Florida State's won all these games, and so as long as they're healthy, like, put them in. Like, this argument's crazy.
I mean, absolutely. And the argument is really, honestly, one of the biggest problems with college football that I'm very excited about solving next year with the 12-team playoff is sometimes the sport can feel more like a beauty pageant or a dog show where you're not focusing enough on the results on the field rather than, how they look or what's going on. And too many opinions are involved in it. With Florida, it's too tight. You're trying to fit too narrow of a window, but now you'll be able to. There's more objectivity. It's like you win, you're in, you're a conference champion. You get here, we'll rank you there. It'll make more sense. You can actually earn your way on the field. If an undefeated Florida State was denied entry, first of all, the only thing saving those folks is the fact that next year it's a 12-team playoff, and we won't have a stupid debate like this in the future. But it would just be one of the biggest travesties in college football, which ironically would be the perfect way for this era of college football to end, is just with the dumbest thing possible of an undefeated conference champion getting left out of the CFB. Just incredibly dumb.
We all got Florida State winning the game against Louisville. For me, it just comes down to, I think, Florida State, again, like all these other teams that we've picked to win. They know what they have in front of them. Louisville officially are bag fumblers again after losing their chance at becoming, at having a chance at the playoff with two bad losses. I think they're going to play with pride, but I think Florida State has faced a lot of adversity this year. They're well coached. They're well rounded. I think the backup quarterback thing is overstated. Just looking at the numbers. So I think something that's been overstated about Florida State as well is, they struggled against Florida. We all talked about on the last show how going to play the Florida team is not good, but going to play in the swamp was going to be a difficult task. And I think every one of us except ML on the show last week picked Florida to win the game. So the fact that they went to the swamp with the backup quarterback and won says a lot about how they're coached. And so I think, them having a hard time against Florida was like expected in that environment and in the situation they're in. But it isn't like Tate Rodemaker has been, playing bad since he's been in the lineup. He's got 510 yards, no picks, 5 touchdowns. Not super accurate, but he's managing the game and not making mistakes, not creating turnovers. And I think with the receivers and coaching and everything to help him out, I think they can pull out this win against Louisville.
Yeah, and I think Mike Norvell is the type of guy, the type of coach to get a team through a tough situation like losing Jordan Travis. Look, people can trash on Florida all you want, but winning that game in the swamp, that's no easy task. That was a big gutty win for the Seminoles. And frankly, I think they're going to have enough to get it done against the Louisville team that looked pretty rocky against Kentucky last weekend. Um, I think Louisville is a program very good. I'm very excited about that direction. Love Jeff Brom. They're just not there right now, though. They're just not quite there. I think this is I think this is their ceiling. They've hit the top. It's a good run. Florida State big.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Lexi. Yeah, no.
No, yeah, I was just gonna say that with Florida State knowing what they have to do and knowing they have to win this is just gonna outplay Louisville's playing spoiler card. There's a lot of teams I think this weekend that are gonna be playing spoiler that it's just not gonna work out. And Florida State is one of them that are gonna take this game. So I doubted them last weekend. I'm not doubting them this, so they got it.
Yeah, for sure. All right. We're gonna rapid fire some NFL games real quick. Seattle, Dallas. This is a Thursday night game. Dallas has been beating up on a lot of bad teams. Seattle ain't as good as they were last year. I think they're kind of, trying to fight for the playoffs, but having to play this game in Dallas is not going to be easy. Geno Smith prone to mistakes, playing against a crazily advantageous Dallas defense. I'm taking the Cowboys.
Yeah, Cowboys have been. I mean, I know it's been against lesser competition, but they have just looked great, And I think Dak, as much as I like to call him mid and stuff, he's playing out of his mind right now. So they're going to continue that. Seattle's really kind of taken a dive, especially with the injuries they've had and whatnot. But yeah, I'm especially at home. Give me Dallas.
I've seen this show before. I know exactly what part we're at. This is when the Cowboys are getting those wins, looking real nice. I know how it ends, though. But for now, Cowboys.
Yeah, we all know how it ends. They'll win this game, and then
and then they'll shit their pants.
Yeah.
This is like the part of Breaking Bad where Walter White's happy.
Yeah.
It only happens a few times, but you know it's going to go just horrible very soon.
Yeah. Okay. Broncos and Texans. Broncos, Sean Payton, Russell Wilson figuring things out. Texans having a good year, trying to make the playoffs with C.J. Stroud. Heard Greg Jennings on TV today say C.J. Stroud is the second best quarterback in the NFL.
Whoa!
So we're there. To let you know where the C.J. Stroud hype is, that is where we are. So yes, I like the Broncos though. They play defense. They were incredible against the Browns. And I know it's DTR versus Stroud, completely different quarterbacks, but I mean that defense is coming together. Sean Payton's gonna have a plan. Russell Wilson more experience. I like the Broncos going to win the game in Houston.
Yeah, these are the two of the hottest teams in the AFC by far. Very tough, very difficult here. I'm gonna go with the Texans to keep the hot hand here. I really like what Stroud's doing. They've just been gutting out really tough wins. This could be the moment where they finally hit a little bit of a bump, but I feel like I've been saying that the past couple weeks, and it hasn't happened yet. So I'm gonna ride with the Texans.
Yeah, the Texans, I mean, C.J. Stroud, that Nico Collins is a really beautiful thing to see. But Broncos have just kind of finally arrived. I think Sean Payton getting Russell Wilson and whatever was happening in this first part of the season under control just in time. I like the experience on Broncos, like you said, Max. So I'm gonna take them here. It's gonna be a good game. C.J. Stroud's still gonna probably go off for a lot of yards and touchdowns, but I'm just going to take the Broncos.
All right, last game, Niners at Eagles, a possible NFC playoff preview. Two really good teams. Eagles finding ways to beat good teams week in and week out. It is uncanny the way they're finding ways to win. And I got to go with them again. I can't doubt the Eagles anymore. They just find ways to beat good teams. Niners going to Philadelphia, playing in that tough environment. The Niners are finding their stride offensively, so it's hard to bet against the Niners. But I mean, the Eagles are just the way they have won these last few games. It's been nutty. I can't go against them. I'm picking Philly.
Yeah, I mean, Philly, look, third straight week, third straight tough opponent. I think it's going to be a third straight win. They've just really been so good at gutting out tough wins. And to me, that is just the best sign of this team possibly making a run in the playoffs because they know how to win tough. They're resilient. They know how to win a lot of different ways. They've gotten blowouts too. So I'm going to go with Philly to keep this thing rolling.
Yeah, they're playing just incredible ball right now on both sides of the ball. 49ers have been like a little hot too, but I love this game because Lions are just looking at it like, okay, this is going to be good positioning, no matter who wins or loses this game here. But yeah, I'm taking the Eagles, especially at home with how hot they are. There's nothing really going to stop them.
Yeah, 100%. All right, let's get to lock of the week. Last week was a tough one for a couple of us. Lexi still in the lead with 16 points. She had the Eagles minus 3.5. Was this close to getting that? The Eagles won by 3 over the
It's so
Bills in
annoyed.
overtime. But yeah, so Lexi stays at 16. Bobby got 2 points by picking the Ravens minus 4 against the Chargers. Ravens won by 10 points, so Bobby got the easy cover and 2 points, bringing him to 11. And then I had the Ravens Chargers game over 46.5. The Chargers offense was absolutely disgusting, and only can put up 10 points. So that pick was an L for me. So me and Bobby stuck at 11. Lexi at 16, still in the lead. Let's get to the locks this week. Who wants to go first? I think Bobby's got the best one. I think. Oh, okay. Bobby won last week, so you should go first.
Yeah, I'm going to make Weekenders history by doing something I'm sure we've never done before. I'm going Iowa under 0.5 points. I think Iowa gets shut out. I think it would be hilarious. I know this is a prop. This is probably pretty high up there. I should be getting 4 points if this hits. But to me,
wow, okay.
I mean, I'm look. I already put it down. I have no leverage here. I'm already making the pick. But I'm just saying. Jim Harbaugh in Michigan. He's back in the saddle. They're mad. They're mad at the Big Ten. I don't think they should be mad at the Big Ten. They're just doing their job. That's fine. But they're mad. And they're not going to let up on Iowa. And I don't think that hapless Iowa offense, who only knows how to... I was going to say they only know how to punt. They don't even do that. That's the special teams. So I was not getting in the end zone. Under 5 points. Or under 0.5 points.
That's like a legit bet too, isn't it? Like in the first half or second half, it was like 0.5.
I think you
both the first half line and the second half line are both under 0.5.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, that's great. Here I'll say this too for that because they had a better defense in my opinion and the same type of offense 2 years ago, and we beat them 42-3 in Indy. So yeah, it's looking like that'll probably hit, Bobby. So I'll just say like Texas forever. I'm definitely going to take Texas in this lock of the week. I think that they are going to finish the Big 12 strong in their last year ever, and Sark's going to have those boys ready. So,
all right. And I got Florida State as my lock. I think we're talking about one very well coached team, something to play for, versus a team that is well coached, but the other coach is better, and they have nothing to play for except for pride. So to me, I think there's no way Florida loses this game, and frankly, this is more of like what I want to happen, more than like what I think will happen. Not just because I want somebody from the ACC to be in the playoff, but because I really want people to be upset that Florida is a undefeated conference champion and they're going to be in. Like I want people to like argue on the internet. I want the chaos. I want the drama. I want people to be like I want to see like the insane reactions we're going to get that Florida State is a playoff team, and they deserve to be. But I think it's going to be funny to see the reactions to that. So I like Florida State as my lock. All right, well, that's the show. some good football on this weekend. So catch it. We'll be back next week to recap it and talk some probably a little bit more NFL, some playoff stuff, and yeah. Until then, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, let us know what you think, who you think is going to win this weekend, and we'll see you guys next time.